Breeze TV.
What does an absence of students at a public hearing about a tuition raise really mean?
And two big names ripped from the headlines make their way to the Berg.
Then baseball gets hit with a walk-off win.
Plus, brothers in business hit the stage in their new bands.
All this and more coming up today on my first episode of Breeze TV.
Live from the Allison B. Parker Studio in the School of Media Arts and Design at James Madison University, this is Breeze TV.
Welcome back to Breeze TV. I'm Maggie Rickerby.
And I'm Zoe Mowry.
We start our broadcast today with heartbreaking news. JMU alumna Christy Bautista was stabbed to death last Friday. The 31-year-old was staying at the Ivy City Hotel in Washington, D.C., where her family told NBC Washington she was attending a concert. D.C. police say the 43-year-old suspect, George Sidnor Jr., stabbed her more than 20 times. He was arrested and charged with first-degree murder following the incident. According to NBC Washington, Bautista's family said there is no known connection between the victim and the suspect. In remembrance of Bautista, under a GoFundMe for funeral costs, a family member said, quote, "Christy made an impact on everyone's lives that she encountered. She was a shining light that lifted up everyone's spirits around her. She encouraged people to do things that they were afraid of and cheered them on. She showed them what true strength was through her courageous actions. She would remember one small random thing you said and find any way to help. Her life was ended way too short by a cruel act of violence that she did not deserve." The GoFundMe has exceeded its goal of $10,000 in just 2 days. Friends and family share an outpour of grief, memories, and condolences on social media in remembrance of Bautista. Hannah Patterson, class of 2021, said that Bautista was her freshman orientation guide. She said that Bautista, quote, "made JMU such a welcoming place for me during my Frog Week, and she truly loved JMU and its people more than anything." Follow the developing story and full staff report on the Breeze's website.
The Board of Visitors is offering students the opportunity to make their voices heard, but at this year's public hearing, student turnout was minimal. Advertised as an open forum to discuss budget proposals, student presence was expected to be high. The forum explained proposed increments to the tuition fees in the 2023-2024 academic year. According to the student representative to the Board of Visitors, Xavier Williams, forums like these are pivotal.
Having intentional conversations with administration on really recognizing what do we need to do to keep college affordable, but make sure we're still providing the services necessary to make sure that we're remaining a thriving institution for both students, faculty, and staff.
Although the turnout was low, students are encouraged to continue to voice their concerns by reaching out to the student representative or secretary of the board.
As this information has now been presented, there's still time to make sure your information or your concerns can get heard to the board secretary, to the administration. I think that as we're starting to make these decisions, we are an institution that serves students. And so their voice, their concerns, their opinions have to be heard.
How much do you pay for rent? Contributor Maddie Gallagher spoke with JMU students living off campus to answer this burning question.
Rent prices are rising in Harrisonburg, and Kayla Sahine, the leasing consultant for the Fox Townhomes, shares the reason for its increase.
The current rate that we're running is $510, and that can fluctuate with the current market. Our owners watch that very closely, and as the market increases, a lot of times the rent will increase as well.
Sahine suggested all the local complexes are experiencing increases and relates it to the annual increase in the cost of living. The Cottages on Port Republic is another complex that has increased its prices in previous leasing cycles. Savannah Bates and Emily Liska, two juniors at JMU, speak about the rental prices they've experienced so far living at the Cottages.
$645. That was sophomore year, fall semester. Spring, it went up to $755. And then this year it's 800 for last semester, and then for this semester it's 865.
The 17% increase has reduced to an 8% increase. Nonetheless, prices themselves are only going up. Another complex, Squire Hill Apartments, rewards its returning customers with lower rates. Heather Opie, another junior at JMU, was lucky enough to get a discount from signing up early last year to live in Squire this year. This locked in a lower rate for her in comparison to newcomers.
If we wouldn't have been able to have that Black Friday deal, we wouldn't have been able to continue living at Squire, and I don't know where we would have ended up living because the prices kind of went up everywhere around the Harrisonburg area this year, which was really difficult.
Residents in the Harrisonburg area are feeling the aftershocks of this national inflation in many different ways. Some townhouses and apartment complexes are attempting to encourage loyalty with lower rates, and others are greatly inflating their prices to coincide with this increasing economic trend. For students looking for more budget-friendly student housing, go to offcampushousing.jmu.edu to review and compare your options. Reporting for Breeze TV, this is Maddie Gallagher.
Coming up on Breeze TV Politics.
Dr. Anthony Fauci and Jim Acosta discuss the pandemic misinformation in the final installment of the Madison Vision series.
And the latest in Tennessee gun reform efforts.
Plus, more national news when we come back.
Keep it here.
It's bow time. Hurry into Bojangles for 2 scratch-made sizzling sausage biscuits for just $4. 1 bite and you'll want breakfast for dinner. Good thing we serve savory sausage biscuits all day. But this 2-for-4 deal won't last forever. It's bow time. It's bow time. Get fired up tonight because Bojangles has your dinner covered. Southbound, scratch-made. Not in one of these, but one of these. That's more home cooking for your money. Order your family meal on the app tonight. It's bow time.
A Bojangles family meal has more to choose from.
Coleslaw.
Dirty rice.
Mac and cheese. Those scratch-made biscuits.
More choices of handcrafted fixins for everyone. You won't find that in a bucket or a bundle. Order in the app and get more. It's bow time.
Tailgating is a song heard across campuses, parking lots, and open fields. They say this song can be heard elsewhere, and perhaps this is true. But it is nowhere near as bright, nowhere near as loud, nowhere near as triumphant as it is right here. Tailgating may not have been born here, but here is where tailgaters are born.
Good afternoon, JMU. I'm Regine Aranazari, and this is Breeze TV Politics. 2 Democrats in Tennessee's House of Representatives have been expelled by Republican lawmakers for protesting against gun violence on the chamber floor following a mass shooting at a Nashville school. A 3rd Democrat was spared from the ousting. In a series of 2 votes, Republicans in the House voted to remove Representatives Justin Jones and Justin Pearson, while the effort to expel Representative Gloria Johnson fell short. The Democratic trio have decried the act as racially motivated, and Jones and Pearson are black and Johnson is white. Dr. Anthony Fauci headlined a town hall moderated by CNN anchor and JMU alumnus Jim Acosta at the final Madison Vision Series event. Dr. Fauci and Acosta were accompanied by JMU Health Sciences student Hugh McFarlane, who served as a student moderator. Breeze TV's politics team provided us with firsthand insight of the event.
And now, please join me in welcoming Dr. Anthony Fauci, Jim Acosta, and Hugh McFarlane to the stage.
Dr. Anthony Fauci visited JMU on Monday to discuss his career as a public health professional in a town hall hosted by CNN anchor Jim Acosta. Dr. Fauci has served as the chief medical advisor under 7 presidents and became a household name during the COVID-19 pandemic. The conversation focused on the lessons learned and the spread of misinformation during this time.
When the political considerations get into what should be an unadulterated public health dialogue, discussion, narrative, then you get major distortions. I have been a career government person for more than half a century. So this was my life, and I had a great deal of respect. It was not a pleasant thing to get up in front of a camera where there are literally were billions of people watching those press conferences and say something that's in direct contradiction to the President of the United States. I had nothing against the President at all.
Attendees discuss how Dr. Fauci's experience and message resonated with them.
I am going into a area that's very highly contested. I'm going into climate change and climate mitigation, and seeing him speak about ways that we can cross those divides between people that don't necessarily agree with each other and find common ground and still be reaching a just future was really important and really inspiring to me.
Having the willingness to speak your mind when you know something's not right versus kind of conforming to the mob mentality.
To conclude the event, JMU President Jonathan Alger presented Dr. Fauci with the Madison Award for the Public Good.
We are delighted to recognize Dr. Anthony Fauci with a 2023 Madison Award for the Public Good.
Dr. Fauci and Jim Acosta's visit to JMU attracted a line wrapping around Wilson Hall, where college Republicans, Young Americans for Freedom, and the network of enlightened women tabled outside. Young Americans for Freedom Chairman Parker Boggs discussed why the event inspired conservative voices at JMU to step out.
When I heard Jim Acosta and Dr. Fauci were going to come, I was excited to go, as a conservative to go, because one, while I don't agree with a lot of the things that Dr. Fauci did and a lot of the ways that Jim Acosta says things in the media and stuff like that, promotes himself to CNN, it's still free speech on campus and it still promotes a civil discourse on campus. The college Republicans chair and the newly enlightened women chair, when we were deciding what we wanted to do, we wanted to do something where we were not going to protest, we were not going to have rally signs, we were not going to have 100 people outside protesting the event and disturbing the peace of the inside. We wanted a small event outside where if maybe you were conservative or maybe you weren't conservative, to stop at the table and actually have a discussion with us and talk.
Parker disagreed with some of Dr. Fauci's messaging through the pandemic. He felt hopeful in the future of public health. Now over to reporter Noelle James with the latest in national news.
Thanks, Regine. Let's take a look at stories making headlines around the country. Former President Donald Trump makes history by becoming the only former president to be arraigned on criminal charges. Trump appeared before a Manhattan court to face 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. Trump pleaded not guilty to all of the charges. The former Republican president took to his Mar-a-Lago residence for a press conference after the arraignment, where he called the charges, quote, fake and politically motivated. The prosecution, led by Manhattan's District Attorney Alvin Bragg, is pushing for a trial to begin January of 2024, right before the Republican primaries. President Biden vetoes a resolution that challenges his Hallmark water rule. The veto blocks an attempt by Congress to undo waterway pollution regulations put forward by the Biden administration. In a statement, Biden says that regulation, quote, provides clear rules of the road that will help advance infrastructure projects, economic investments, and agriculture activities. The Supreme Court has ruled that transgender athletes in West Virginia can compete in female sports teams. In a brief unsigned order, the justices denied the state's emergency request to lift an appellate court's injunction. This enabled a transgender girl to compete on her middle school's female teams until a 3-judge panel reaches a final decision. The panel is now set to hear the student appeal in full, and the case could ultimately return to the High Court. That's all for BreezeTV Politics. Zoe and Maggie, back to you.
When we come back from the half,
a JMU coach wins a mid-major award.
And a club sport dominates states.
Then, lacrosse continued their 12-game win streak against their ranked in-state rival.
Stay tuned for BreezeTV Sports.
Bow time. Hurry into Bojangles for 2 scratch-made sizzling sausage biscuits for just $4. 1 bite and you'll want breakfast for dinner. Good thing we serve savory sausage biscuits all day. But this 2-for-4 deal won't last forever. It's bow time. It's bow time. Get fired up tonight because Bojangles has your dinner covered. Southbound, scratch-made. Not in one of these, but one of these. That's more home cooking for your money. Order your family meal on the app tonight. It's bow time.
A Bojangles family meal has more to choose from.
Coleslaw.
Dirty rice.
Mac and cheese. Those scratch-made biscuits.
More choices of handcrafted fixins for everyone. You won't find that in a bucket or a bundle. Order in the app and get more. It's bow time.
Tailgating is a song, across campuses, parking lots, and open fields. They say this song can be heard elsewhere, and perhaps this is true. But it is nowhere near as bright, nowhere near as loud, nowhere near as triumphant as it is right here. Tailgating may not have been born here, but here is where tailgaters are born.
Welcome to the Sports Desk. This is Colby Reese. Women's basketball head coach Shauna Reagan was named the World Exposure Report Mid-Major Coach of the Year. O'Regan, who led the Dukes to a 26-8 record, says he doesn't see this as a personal award and gives credit to his staff and players. O'Regan embraced the challenges of moving to the Sun Belt with a new mindset, which he said was a positive outlook to coaching.
I didn't know it, and so I approached it with a kind of a fresh perspective, and that was really healthy for me. That was really quite enjoyable for me, in fact.
The team finished with a 13-5 conference record and ultimately went on to win the Sun Belt Championship Tournament and make their first appearance in the NCAA tournament since 2013. O'Regan wants the season takeaway for his players to be that moving forward, they know how to bring home success. Kicking into some club sports news, the JMU Women's Soccer Club recently won states. The big win left the team with much to celebrate against rival App State for their final game. They played 4 games before the championship, including VCU twice, which left the team exhausted, but their determination ultimately led them to their victory. Gianna Turco, the vice president of Club Women's Soccer, said the game being at home ultimately inspired them to shoot for the stars, even when they were faced with adversity.
We were so close to the end. We knew we had to win. We were at our home turf. I think another challenge is that App State was really aggressive when they played. So we knew that it was kind of going to be challenging and an aggressive fight. So we were getting ready for that.
Turco also emphasized how proud she was of all of her teammates' hard work and can't wait for next season. Softball took on 25th-ranked Louisiana last weekend and was swept in the series. Our reporter Sam Reinert shows the team's reflection on the series and what they hope to take away from their disappointing play.
JMU against Louisiana resulted in a 3-game sweep of the Dukes, which hasn't happened since 2013. Going into the weekend, JMU knew what to expect from the highly offensive ranked team.
We kind of talked about before the series even started that they're going to throw punches all weekend long, and it's just going to be how we punch back and how we respond.
Despite the results not going the team's way, the group believes their mindset was in the right place.
We knew that they were a top 25 team, extremely competitive, highly talented. We kind of just went in trying to just be competitors.
JMU was able to hold the Raging Cajuns in the first game of the series, keeping a pattern of UL scoring 2 runs in the top and JMU responding in the bottom, until the 8th inning with Louisiana scoring 4 runs.
We just kept the momentum to even. And then they got it, and we couldn't get it back.
While in the batter's box, the team amassed a total of 34 strikeouts over the series and struggled with swinging in the zone.
We've got to figure out some things with our barrels and hitting different kinds of pitching. I just think our swings are all the same right now, and we're not doing a good job at hitting the pitch that we're swinging at, and we're not hitting the right pitch. We're kind of swinging outside the zone a little bit.
Reporting from Veterans Memorial Park for BreezeTV, I'm Sam Reinert.
For more on JMU softball and baseball's win last night, here's reporter Eric Shellhouse.
Thanks, Colby. JMU softball wrapped up their conference series against Georgia State earlier today. After many schedule changes, the Dukes and Panthers faced off in a doubleheader on Thursday. The first game would see Georgia State jump out to a 4-1 lead in the first inning and not look back in a 6-4 win. In the second game, JMU had an 8-run third inning and took care of the Panthers in 5 innings to secure the win. In today's finale, Georgia State would secure a close 3-1 victory to take the series. JMU returns home next Friday for a weekend series against Troy. Over at Eagle Field, baseball will continue their Sun Belt series with Georgia State at 6 p.m. Last night, fans were treated to an extra inning thriller that featured them walking, or rather limping off, with a victory. The Dukes opened a 3-game set against Georgia State with a narrow 7-6 victory in extra innings. Ryan Erdelschwanger went 3 2/3 innings with 4 strikeouts in his first career collegiate start. After scoring 11 runs in Tuesday's victory, the offense picked up their strong hitting display in the second inning.
Coleman Calabrese being back in the lineup, being gone for a couple weeks, big swing in the bat, hit a 3-run home run.
Followed up in the third inning by a leadoff triple from Mason Dunaway in a wild pitch, the Dukes held a 4-2 lead through 5 innings. However, the margin had dwindled to 1 with a 6-5 lead in the ninth, and the Panthers rallied to tie the game and force extras. Stepping in with the bases loaded and no one out, right fielder Jalen Lee felt secured by the depth of the team's lineup.
We don't have any doubt in our lineup, like you said, so it's just one of those things like the next guy coming up, and even if I didn't get the job done, I knew the guy behind me or the guy after that would get the job done.
Lee took what the game gave him, and Fenwick Trimble scored the winning run.
2 RBIs on 2 bases loaded hit by pitches, is something that you don't see that all the time. But I was just proud of how our guys hung in there and just kept battling all night.
As for the remaining 2 games,
well, I think the biggest thing is having the support of the fans and families and playing at home. It's a special place to play. And
they'll turn to the Harrisonburg faithful for some extra support. That's it from the Diamond. Back to you, Colby.
Thank you, Eric. JMU lacrosse has excelled this season with players stepping up for every tough moment, whether it's been a freshman or a seasoned senior player. That aspect of the team has paid off with 5 of JMU's players recognized as potential contenders for the 2R10 award, given to an outstanding male and female lacrosse athlete. Representing the Dukes is Rachel Matty, Myri Durkin, Isabella Peterson, Kat Buchanan, and Ty Janikowski, all of whom contributed to this past Wednesday's game against the Richmond Spiders. Our reporter Moses Harris has more on the win.
The 23rd ranked Richmond Spiders came crawling into Centera Park this past Wednesday to play against the now 4th ranked JMU Dukes. Richmond looks to continue its recent success with a win at Centera Park. The game started off fast, with both sides trading goals early. But that's not what highlighted this first half of the game, as redshirt senior Rachel Matty breaks the all-time draw control record at 246, a record that only the hardest working of players can get. But she just shrugs it off, like another day in the office, giving all the credit to her teammates.
Yeah, it's cool, but a lot of what's not talked about is the people around me and the people that give me those opportunities. And just to give you like an example on defense, I know Marie Durkin gets a lot of credit, and I know I get a lot of credit, and we're on like the Torch and watch list, which is great. That's what we want. That's what we're striving for, and that's what happens when you're a good team. But a lot of the names that don't get that credit are like Lizzie Parasino, Carolyn Thistlethwaite, Nikki Marshall. Like they're right behind me doing all that stuff, and they do this. They put in just as much effort as we do.
This team definitely puts in the effort every single time they touch the field, and today was no different in order to slow down Richmond's offense early, especially their number 4.
Taking Tierney Arden out. I think that was the difference in the game. She's a big part of their ball movement, a big part of their feeding game, and I thought that they really struggled offensively from that moment in the game.
The Dukes' top 5 defense came through after a tough first quarter, only allowing 6 goals from that point on, securing them a 20-10 victory when it was all said and done. Rachel had one more thing to say about her team as they prep for their next game.
Let's go Dukes. Shout out our D unit. Doing well this year, and let's keep riding.
This has been Moses Harris, bringing the lacrosse action to you on BreezeTV.
Women's tennis took on 41st ranked Charlotte Thursday at Hillside Courts. In doubles play, the 49ers took the advantage with 2 victories. Lucia Caterio and Marga Marquette won a close 6-4 match against Duke's Kylie Mullen and Ines Oliveira. The other doubles play match went unfinished. Into singles play, 2 courts were tied at 4-4 in the opening frame. However, Charlotte would continue their success on the day and close out the Dukes to win in a 4-0 decision. This was JMU's final non-conference game of the season, finishing with an 11-6 record in those matchups. This is also the team's first home loss of the season after winning their first 6 matches in the Berg. The Dukes return to action tomorrow when they travel to take on 28th ranked Old Dominion at 1 p.m. That's all from the world of sports. Maggie and Zoe, back to you.
As we wrap things up on Breeze TV,
a round of applause for a new band on campus.
And how one couple rebought a Harrisonburg hidden gem.
Then a new Duke with a new voice.
Stay tuned.
It's bow time. Hurry into Bojangles for 2 scratch-made sizzling sausage biscuits for just $4. 1 bite and you'll want breakfast for dinner. Good thing we serve savory sausage biscuits all day. But this 2 for $4 deal won't last forever. It's bow time. It's bow time. Get fired up tonight because Bojangles has your dinner covered. Southbound, scratch made. Not in one of these, but one of these. That's more home cooking for your money. Order your family meal on the app tonight. It's bow time.
A Bojangles family meal has more to choose from.
Coleslaw.
Dirty rice.
Mac and cheese. Those scratch-made biscuits.
More choices of handcrafted fixins for everyone. You won't find that in a bucket or a bundle. Order in the app and get more. It's bow time.
Tailgating is a song heard across campuses, parking lots, and open fields. They say this song can be heard elsewhere, and perhaps this is true. But it is nowhere near as bright, nowhere near as loud, nowhere near as triumphant as it is right here. Tailgating may not have been born here, but here is where tailgaters are born.
This is BreezeTV.
The love of music has brought five brothers in Phi Gamma Nu together for the new band Doghouse. Contributing reporter Madeline Cornwell jams out with the band in this week's Top Culture Story.
With the motto, Music for Attractive Listeners, the new group Doghouse changes the scenery of your everyday JMU party one old rock song at a time. For them, it's not about achieving fame, but the feeling of performing.
Right at the start of a song, when you hit your stride and everyone's in the same groove, that's when we're the most cohesive.
When things come together, all the stars align.
Starting a band can be challenging, but there has been an outpour of support from the JMU community, which helps put the Greer brothers at ease.
Without them, I know I would have been terrified on stage. The guitar, like, if you mess up, it's very obvious if the note's wrong, but with drums, you can just pretend like you meant to do it.
JP Green, a former band member of the Interns, often lends the band his basement for practice. He says watching them succeed is like being the cool uncle.
It's cool to see them play. It reminds me of my own band when I was playing, and it's just like, it's cool to relive that experience.
His best advice to them is to
have fun. Don't think about it too much.
There's never a dull moment in the Doghouse. The band's sense of humor and strong brotherhood is what makes them so special.
It's just a great time. We're all just best buddies as well, so it's great.
We just have a good time. There's always laughs, and we just all love creating music. Honestly, one of the best things I've decided to ever do in my entire life. I'm creating some of the best memories.
Despite a span of 4 academic years between the group, they aren't worried about longevity.
The sky's the limit. Our future is a little bit uncertain because some of our members are graduating this semester, but we have a lot of goals.
While the end of the semester is bittersweet, the band says listeners should keep their ears open for original music and more performances before some of them walk the stage.
Relay for Life on April 28th. Anyone can go. All the proceeds go to stopping cancer.
Reporting for BreezeTV from Ballard Parking Deck, I'm Madeline Cornwell.
You can find the full story on Doghouse on this week's cover of The Breeze or online at www.breezejmu.org.
A little grill with lots of love. Closed since September, the Little Grill has finally reopened their doors. Ron Copeland and his wife Melanie previously owned the grill from 1992 to 2003 until turning it into a worker-owned collective. Now, 20 years later, the Copelands are owners once again. After closing in September of 2022, Copeland worked with the collective to find alternate routes to stay open, but ultimately, the business fell back into his hands. Copeland says he has an irrational attachment to the grill and the history it holds for him.
And there's this thing when you walk in the door that says, "I love you," that I wrote to my now wife, then girlfriend in 1993. I painted it up there just flirting, and it just never got painted over, so it's still there 30 years later saying I love you, and in a sense I think it says it to the customers as they walk in the door.
Copeland said the community was, quote, over the moon about the grill reopening, and he is just as happy to be there. The restaurant will now be open on Mondays for the first time in over 30 years, in addition to its previous hours. More on the Little Grill is featured in this week's edition of The Breeze.
From The Voice to JMU, Mary Kate Connor is a contestant on the popular NBC show and a JMU commit. Our reporter Alexa Bonilla sat down with the high school senior to reflect on her experience.
What's it like being a high school senior and being on this national competition show?
I committed to JMU while I was in LA, so that was definitely something that, you know, was a little bit of a burden, but one that ended up playing out really well. And then it's just crazy because, you know, airings happen and then I go to school the next day and I'll like pass by classrooms and the teachers like have my videos like playing on the TV, and it's been insane, but my high school has really just, you know, supported me and loved me through it all and have just been like, you know, holding me up through this. So it's definitely been very much so a blessing.
You can find the full interview with Mary Kate on the Breeze's YouTube and website.
Before you go, next Wednesday is National Grilled Cheese Day. So stop in next week at Grilled Cheese Mania between 3 and 7 p.m. and mention the Breeze. A percentage of the proceeds will go towards supporting the hard work in student journalism that we do here at the Breeze and BreezeTV. Well, Zoe, welcome to the Anchor Desk. I'm so excited to be sitting next to you this upcoming semester.
I'm so excited to be here and excited to work beside you and all of our great staff here at the Breeze. We will see you guys same time, same place next week.